Hey everyone, I'm Parker, co-founder of Deco Exchange. Ever been told that crafting is just a hobby? Well, we've turned our passion for crafting into a thriving 8-figure business, surrounded ourselves with an incredible community, and learned countless valuable lessons along the way. From navigating business challenges to celebrating wins, we've seen firsthand that makers mean business. Join me as we dive deep into these stories, strategies, and secrets behind making your craft a successful enterprise. Because here at Makers Mean Business, we're all about proving that makers aren't just making, they're building dreams and running businesses. What is up, you guys? It is Parker here with the Makers Mean Business podcast. We are back. We're back for another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about engaging and selling on live sales. This is the next part of a series that I've been doing. In the last couple episodes, I've given you guys an intro on live selling. I gave you guys some ideas on how to plan your live sale. And this time I'm going to talk about a little bit of what I think or what I like to do during my live sales, some things to look out for, all of that kind of stuff. But y'all, before we get started, I just wanted to celebrate a quick little win. Maybe it's not a quick little win, but it's a win nonetheless. Maybe a couple wins. We have been posting episodes consistently. So that's a big win for me. I know we've over the years, we've done the podcast for a little while, stopped, done it for a while, stopped, and we're committing, y'all. We're committing. I'm back here recording, so that means we're still committing. So we're going to go with that. But y'all, the other win, I think we crossed 10,000 downloads so far this year. As I'm sitting here recording, we are in April. We started re-releasing some new episodes back in February. So 10,000 downloads this year in that kind of short time span. I think that's a huge win. So shout out to all you guys. If you're listening, you're supporting us. I appreciate that. It really does mean a lot. I know I get a lot of positive feedback on the lives. I know I get emails about positive feedback. If you guys could leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening, that would be super awesome. It really does help, not only with proof that the podcast is a good thing, but also just knowing that you guys love it really is super motivational. Knowing that you guys get content out of it, get some ideas, some mindset issues, some strategy, some whatever you want to call it. I'm glad to be able to help you through it, help you to it, help you out of it, whatever it is. So thank you guys for all of that. I'm super excited that we are celebrating all that together. So like I said, we're going to be talking about engaging and selling. I know a lot of people are shy on camera. A lot of people freeze up. I know it can be scary. I'm not going to pretend that it's not, y'all. Even now, before I press the record button, that big red button that says go live or whatever it is, y'all, even with the podcast, I have to get myself in the mindset. I don't want to say talk myself down or talk myself up, but get in the zone. I think about, I've seen it with sports players. I've seen it with public speakers. They have like their little playlist that they listen to, or maybe they do some self-talk or whatever that is. You have to try different things that work for you. Some people, if you're like Damon, you just are very nonchalant about everything and you can just do it. And I think it does get easier over time. I think the first time is definitely scary, the scariest time. But to say that it's not scary or not, you don't get like the jitters or you get nervous would be a lie, I think, personally, just speaking on experience. So I think the first thing that you're definitely going to want to do is get yourself mentally ready for it. We talked about how to prepare in the last episode. So if you've done all those things, when I do all those things, it helps me get into that mindset a little bit easier. So if you're like me, run through that little checklist, run through those things that you want to make sure that you are going to do to help you get in the mindset. Once you're actually live, you guys, I prefer to just go right into it. If you don't have a huge following, if you're just doing this for the first time, most people are going to be watching the replay. Like more people are going to be watching the replay than watching it live with you. And that's totally okay. And that's something to just be ready for. I think it's wise to get comfortable with blank space, or some people call it in the biz, they call it dead air, where, nothing's happening. You're just sitting there waiting. I would suggest you don't do that. I would suggest that you go, as soon as you know that the video is live and you're recording, you just go straight into it. Hey everybody, what's going on? I'm here to show you XYZ. This is Parker with Deco Exchange, and I'm here to show you some really great wreath supplies. Here's how you shop with us. Here's how you get started. Here's where you can get our stuff. Here's where, whatever your spiel is, however you have this set up to run, I would suggest going straight into that. What I see a lot of people do is say, I'm just going to give everyone a minute to jump on, and then 30 seconds, 45 seconds pass, and then you finally get started. Here's the problem with that. I realize that people are going to miss the first few minutes of what's going on, but if you're specifically going back to what I was saying, where if you're worried about the people that are going to be watching on replay, which I really do believe is the vast majority of a lot of people's audiences, when a potential customer or a potential viewer of your content is scrolling through, if you're waiting 45 seconds and nothing's happening, they're not going to listen. They're not going to stick around unless they really want to see what's going on, especially when it comes to someone who doesn't know you. If you wait 45 seconds and you're just like sitting there twiddling your thumbs, the attention span of new customers, especially like I said, when they don't know you, is going to be very low. So you want to make sure that you're immediately engaging, telling them what's going on, kind of priming them for what's about to happen in the video. One thing I like to tell a lot of our business coaching students in the Makers University, y'all, is getting rid of people that you don't want is just as important, if not more important, than getting people that you do want. So I suggest being just straight up, just straight to the point of, hey, I'm here to do, this is what's going to happen in this video. If you're cool with that, cool. If you're not, cool. And I probably wouldn't say it like that, but that's the meaning that I'm trying to get across. That's the point that I'm trying to get. I'm going to be selling you some crafts. Some craft supplies. And if you don't want, that's okay. But if you do, here's how we're going to do it. And I suggest that you guys take on that kind of same mentality, that same kind of, I don't want to call it a script, but when you're there just to hang out, you can say, yeah, we're just here to just hang out. But if you're here to show off some product, I think it's important to get that point across too. But one of the things, it's funny, one of the things I've been telling myself and I've been dealing with in therapy and just trying to practice more in my life and in business is just making expectations clear and making the unsaid things said. And it's been serving me very well. And honestly, I think it just helps. I think it helps everyone. It helps people know what to expect. It helps me know that at least I said what I wanted to say and it's very clear of what I'm getting at and what I'm trying to do. I know that goes back to transparency and all the things, but sometimes it's harder than others to do that, right? But that's one thing that I've really been trying to do is just be very clear and upfront with intentions and expectations. As far as presenting on camera and what you should say and what you should do, it's really going to vary from person to person, from store to store. If you're just on a live video showing off your wreaths, or maybe you're doing a house tour or whatever it is, there are definitely going to be a lot of things that you want to make sure that you cover, especially when it comes to you're actively trying to sell, right? You're actively trying to get some product moving, make some sales, whatever it is. You're definitely going to want to let people know how to shop with you. If you're using some kind of system that collects invoices or payments or anything like that, you're going to want to explain to the potential customers and the people viewing your video how to do that. If you're just showing product and you just want people to go to your Etsy shop, or maybe it's your website or whatever it is, that's totally fine. But you're definitely going to want to say it and also mention it throughout the video. Y'all, this beautiful wreath is available in our Etsy shop. You can go to decoexchange.etsy.com to check out. It's X amount of dollars. The shipping is included, or whatever it is. I would suggest that you have that. I'm going to say script a lot, but I'm not trying to say be robotic about it. There's just, I think of it as like my little, like almost like a speech. It's just like the things that I have to say every time to make sure that people know what to do, to make sure that it's very clear on how do you even do business with us. And y'all, this rings true for sometimes I'll talk about how to join our text list or how to join our email list, or even if I'm referring back to something else that I talked about in the past, I'm like, yo, I sent this email last week. If you don't get our emails, you can go over to damonslinks.com and sign up for our email list, or a text message or whatever it is. So y'all, a lot of this engaging with the customers and how to actually conduct yourself on video, it transcends just selling product, right? It's all about building a community. It's all about communicating with your customers, either in real time or in the replays. Y'all, I'm going to be talking all about community building on live videos here in a bit, in a future episode, I should say. But when it comes to actually engaging with people on video, you're definitely going to want to be very clear about how to do whatever it is you're trying to promote during that video. In the premise of this episode, we're talking about live selling. So it's going to be very important for you to share, how do you actually live sell? How do you actually check out with us? How do you actually buy our product? How do you support us? Where do you find it? How to search the website? Whatever it is. And the beauty with this is it will evolve over time, right? There's no doubt that the first few times, y'all, I've been doing this for years and I still have trouble making sure that I have all the things right, or things change constantly. So there's little tweaks that are happening, or maybe the way that I said it last time, it wasn't clear. So I want to adjust the way that I say it this time. Collecting feedback and, interacting with people in real time, that adds a ton of value, not only for the know and trust factor that we talk about all the time, but also so that you can adapt and adjust what you're saying, how you're showing things, how you're describing things to make sure that it's very clear to the people watching what's going on. Y'all, let's talk just about showing product. For this example, I think we're going to be talking specifically to the handmade sellers. I know we have a ton of wreath makers that listen. I know one of our main businesses is craft supplies and selling products online, specifically catering towards a lot of wreath makers and handmade sellers. You're definitely going to want to make sure that your product looks good. I know I talked a little bit about how to have stuff ready to go on the last episode and some things that you can do, but you're definitely going to want to see what your product looks like on camera. You can very easily just open your camera, and I think I even talked about it on the last episode, where you can do like sample recordings and sample lighting and see what the sound quality looks like, what the video quality looks like. But you're definitely going to want to make sure that your product looks its best, right? Imagine going to a farmer's market and you have all of these different fruit and all of these different vegetables and stuff. You ever heard the saying, like, put the nice stuff out front? You're going to want to make sure that you put your product's best foot forward. Make sure that the bow is fluffed. Make sure that the lighting looks really good. Make sure that you can see the glitter in the camera. Make sure that you can read the sign or whatever it is. You just really want to make sure that you're giving your product the best chance to have that wow factor, to show off all the great things that is happening with the product, right? If you have a really great bow, you want to make sure that you're talking about it on camera. You want to make sure that front and center, make sure that it looks really good. Sometimes you've probably heard the saying, the camera adds 10 pounds or whatever it is. You really want to make sure that you've got a really great angle. You want to make sure that you've got really great lighting so that your product has its best chance at finding a home. As far as actually talking about your product, I covered that just now, but you really want to make sure that you're bringing up all of the great things about the product, right? Maybe you used wired ribbon so that the bow is going to stay fluffed, and maybe the sign is color resistant, or maybe it's going to hold up in the weather, or you're going to know your product better than I can try to just cover all the different bases. But you really want to make sure that when you're describing the product, you're eliminating all of the reasons why a customer might not want to buy it. Now, sometimes people can say, oh, I don't want the price, but some people say, oh, the last one I had faded, or maybe the last one came in smashed, or maybe the ribbon wasn't wired, so it was floppy. Or you'll also know when you start having conversations with your audience and your community what they don't like about other products, and you can make sure that you highlight reasons why that's not going to be a problem for your product because XYZ, right? That's my thoughts when it comes to talking about the product. Just a general kind of selling technique that I like to use in live sales, whether it be physical product, whether it be materials, supplies, or actual finished products. Y'all, selling and buying is a very emotional thing. So you definitely want to make sure that you're invoking some kind of emotion, right? So you can definitely talk about, y'all, this wreath is so gorgeous. We've got some pretty glitter on it. It's going to dazzle in the sunshine. It's going to pull in your home decor on the front door. It's going to wow your neighbors as they drive by, right? That's all things that you can talk about. But what about if you were sharing a story about why sunflowers were so important to you? And your grandmother used to have a vase of sunflowers on her table for Sunday dinner, and it just reminds you of that family gathering, and how you want that wreath to be just like that vase of sunflowers that your grandmother had on their door, so that you can inspire your customers to let them know that this isn't just something that you hang on your door. This is going to be a memory, or this is going to bring back some kind of feelings about family gatherings, or this is going to leave like a core imprint on your children or your memories. Because when your family thinks back about your house, they're going to remember that beautiful thing that was on their door. Maybe it was the sunflowers, like I was saying, but you can absolutely instill emotion, instill some storytelling, instill a lot of things that let people know why this was so important to you, and it can be important to your family too, or your customer's family too. Selling and selling philosophy is like a huge thing, and I'll probably end up doing some more podcasts in the future about like selling strategy and all of that kind of stuff. But just know that selling your product is one thing, and selling the emotion attached. And another thing, y'all, I didn't even mention in the last few minutes, is selling the solution to a problem. your wreath is going to solve some problem for someone. Maybe they want to impress their mother-in-law. Maybe they want to have a door that stands out. Maybe they want to be the talk of the neighborhood. That's all solutions that your product can solve. And sometimes saying, look how pretty it is, isn't enough, right? You have to explain to customers why it can solve some problems like that, or why it can instill that emotion. So yeah, one more thing that I want to talk about before we wrap up this episode is actually engaging with the people on the video. I know I mentioned a lot of people will be catching the replay, but you're definitely going to want to also acknowledge the people that are live there with you. If you're just starting out, y'all, I know it can be really scary if you turn on the video and what if it's crickets, or what if it's, no one shows up. And the reality is there is going to be times where there's no one to talk to. Even on Deco Exchange, where we have a lot of people watching us most of the time, there are times where the customers are just kind of sitting there listening. Maybe they have us on background or whatever it is. So you're definitely going to want to be comfortable just kind of talking. But whenever customers or viewers or people watching your video are actually taking the time to leave comments and to engage with you, you're definitely going to want to make sure that you talk back to them. Make sure that you actually engage with them, because they might be asking questions. They might be trying to get some more information. They may be trying to give you some feedback, or maybe they said, oh, I didn't see that very well. Can you show this differently? And a lot of that feedback, as even, there's going to be people who don't like you, and there's going to be not nice stuff. But the majority of the time, you can use what they have to say as feedback, and kind of, maybe you need to adjust your style. Maybe you need to kind of take some constructive criticism and change the way that you explain things. Or maybe you'll realize that some people only care about certain things. Like maybe you were really concerned about what type of mesh was on your wreath, for example, but the customer doesn't really care about that. So it'll give you a chance to really learn what's important to your customer. And it'll really just give you a lot of real-time feedback and data on what is good, what is bad, what they like, what they don't like. So make sure that you're actively paying attention to what's going on in real time, and actually going back to the comments after the video. If people start responding on your replay, you're definitely going to want to acknowledge those people too, y'all. You want to, especially when you're first starting out, you want to be as involved as possible with everything that's going on, so that you can basically start building the following, y'all. It's almost like starting a snowball. You really want to make sure that you're really building a great community, a great customer base right from the start. That way, when the snowball starts to roll, you're just collecting more and more of those same types of people. Y'all, that's all I had for today about engaging and selling on live sales. Make sure you guys subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to the Makers Mean Business podcast. Next episode, we're going to be talking about technical setup, y'all. I have a big old list of stuff that we're going to talk about, but I'm also going to be including a supply list of some of our favorite things. I know it's a little tough to explain stuff that's visual sometimes on how things look and how things work, but I do have a supply list that you guys can go. Most of it's going to be on Amazon, I think, where you guys can just check that out. We're going to talk about that next episode. So if that's of interest to you, I'm going to be talking about all about lights and mounts and all the things that you might need to get your video up and going. So make sure that you guys subscribe, and I'll see you next time on the Makers Mean Business podcast. Bye, y'all.